memory test in order to screen out senile dementia. So they don't find anybody who has senile dementia. So, speaking of static visual acuity, okay. So you want to look at their general plan and subjects, and so they recruit their subjects from advertisements posted at nearby university buildings and at 2 senior centers in the New Haven community. They get a questionnaire about all of this. They got paid for the screening session. Not all of them get selected. So now you've got 2 groups. You've got young people, 15. And this is pretty common for more biologically oriented studies. They have fairly small sample sizes. It sort of intrigues me because I don't know if there's any reason to think that you're going to have a whole lot less variation on these sensory thresholds than you do on things that we tend to insist on larger samples for. But it's a fairly common practice. 6 of them are male, 9 of them are female. They're between 18 and 27. And then you've got 22 older subjects, 6 male and 6 female. So you've already got, I don't know if you think this matters, it may not, but you've got a sort of gender difference proportionately between your younger and older sample. They're all over 65. The mean age is 76 and a half. And did they even tell us how old the oldest person is? No. So then they throw out people who were smokers at any time in the previous 10 years, people diagnosed as diabetics, people giving evidence of dementia although nobody did, people who used a hearing aid, and people presenting a physical trauma in the region of the skin tested all of that. So they're trying to eliminate people whose pathologies would actually interfere with the testing, or with smokers because your taste and smell would probably be affected by the history of smoking. You get 4 2-hour sessions on 4 different days, not necessarily consecutive. But you get $100. That's not all bad. It's a pretty rigorous participation study. You bring people back a lot. And okay. Lots of things wrong with these figures. What? Want to have a crack? There's one thing that ought to be really obvious with what we talked about so far in class. What's the structure of the study?
It's young and older.
Yeah.
So are they breaking up into 2 different columns, looks like?
Well,
or are they using triangles and circles?
they've got, along the bottom here, they've got like age 10 to age 90, and you're drawing lines.
The lines of best fit almost seem random for some of them. I understand that there's a cluster there, but it just seems so arbitrary with that kind of scale of 10 to 90. Cutting them in half, and maybe having the scale from what was like 17 or whatever, like that age range and then the older age range, instead of having from 10 to 90 is that's kind of absurd.
What's meaningful here is the stacks, right? These are the individual data points for the young. These are your individual data points for the old. The little lines are the means of the 4 sessions. So this is what your data actually is you've got a young group and you've got an old group. Now, how they got away with drawing regression
Yeah,
lines
it's kind of weird.
Yeah.
when you don't actually have continuous age data baffles me. I mean, I would never get asked to review this kind of paper because it's not my field. But if I saw this, I'd tell them to send it back and tell us about the mean differences. But what you really want is, in this case, a t-test. Because you want to know, is this group different than that? Well, and they all are. I mean, it's not like they gained anything by screwing around with the figures. I don't know what they thought they were doing. But it also is interesting, especially just from the standpoint of like thinking about the statistics. Okay, you can see where that you've got in general the older adults having higher thresholds, but you can also see where the overlap is, and that there's more overlap on some things than others. Taste, it's sort of not so much. Smell, you've got really quite a bit of overlap. But then you've got some of the older adults really going high. And then you've got a few young people down here, which is like, it's really good census system. Temperature, again, you've mostly got overlap, but you get this spread going up this way with the older adults. Low frequency touch, is that even that's 0.54. Okay, so you've got, this one is more like, the range is almost completely overlapped, but you can see like the concentration of young people is down here, and the concentration of old people is a little higher. High frequency touch is a little more cleanly distinguished. Low frequency hearing isn't even statistically significant.
What's high frequency touch? I didn't understand the touch ones. Does it mean when it's soft?
This is vibration, so it's how quick is the vibration.
Oh, okay.
And it actually is different physical sensory systems for high and low frequency vibration. Unlike hearing, where it's the same physical system, but different ends of it go at different times.
Yeah, I know, like the high end goes first.
For men, anyway. Although, as you can see here, you get age differences, but not here. Well, again, it's mostly with some people really having very high thresholds. Right? Whereas, like with the low frequency hearing, it's not even statistically significantly different. Oh, there are some larger longitudinal samples where you can see that there are at least detectable changes in low frequency hearing. Starting in middle age. They're never as big as a high frequency hearing changes. And many of the things we look at. So, probably about the most detailed visualization of the results of something that you're ever going to get in terms of actually being able to see how much overlap there is of young and old. This difference, which because they have this noise error interpretation of the multiple measurements, they tend to make a lot out of the little bars too. You're always, just mathematically, you always have less variation in your averages of anything than you do in the stuff that you're averaging. There's nothing suspicious about that, but there's also nothing at all surprising about it. There's always going to be. I lost my. There's always going to be less variability in the means than there is in the original data points. So actually, there's like reporting this as correlations, and particularly drawing this line. I just find incredibly annoying. You should always be suspicious even if people have like smaller gaps in this. Anytime people want to kind of cruise across the fact that the middle is missing, you want to be really suspicious. And it does happen in lots of studies. You've got people will have like age groups that are more distinct. They have like more age groups than this or whatever. Or people will just want to do like an age extreme design and then talk about it as though it's a continuous effect. You don't want to let people